Alright, hello everyone and welcome back. First of all, let me start off with an apology. I am late on this, but that's mainly because I don't know what I was thinking. For some reason, I thought the chapter didn't come out till the 25th or the 24th. It came out the 20th or the 21st. One of those days. So I just thought the chapter hadn't come out yet. And I was scrolling through Twitter and I see people talking about it. I was like, man, they're really talking about the spoilers pretty like a lot. Like usually I can avoid the spoilers, but now they're like really all over my timeline. And then I realized, oh wait, chapter actually came out. So that's on me. I don't know why I thought chapter came out later. It's been coming out around the 20th. I don't know why I was thinking the 25th this time around. So that's on me. I apologize. Let's go ahead and get right into this. Boruto, Two Blue Vortex, chapter 15. Super good chapter. I really enjoyed it. It's not what I expected it to be, but I'm glad we got this. So this chapter is mainly kind of more of a wind down chapter, kind of like a settling down. And it kind of, in my opinion, it marks the end of the first arc of Boruto Two Blue Vortex. So I'm really glad we got this as a way to kind of like, you know, put a closer on the first arc. I honestly thought we were going to jump straight into the next arc without really there being any kind of closing, so two arcs would be kind of fused together. But no, we actually did get a pretty good like ending chapter, ending episode to the arc, which I really appreciate. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So to start off with, for this chapter, we got Mr. Shinki Senju clone Ryu as chapter cover. We got him in orange. This chapter cover looks really dope. I really love the way Ryu looks. His design is cool. His feet are definitely something else, but that's how all the Senju's feet are, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, I mean, they are monsters, so it makes sense for them to be a little bit deformed like that. But no, overall, this chapter cover is super dope. I really like it. The way Ryu's drawn is really cool. I like all the magnetic sand in the back covering up the title and stuff. It really gives off a very intimidating aura, you know, that Ryu is definitely a threat to be taken serious. But anyways, let's jump right into the chapter. I'm not really going to read through it like I usually do. I'm just going to kind of pick some of the important moments out and discuss what I think about them due to the fact that I am kind of late on this. So once again, apologies for that. But anyways, chapter starts off. We get to see what actually happened to Gaara and Shinki. So we know that Shinki got treed, and we know that Gaara was sealed. But as we see here, it was Matsuri that attacked the Hidden Sand Village. And Matsuri actually attacked not because she wanted to attack the Hidden Sand Village or because she was ordered to. She's here because she's looking for Boruto. She's trying to track down Boruto and his ally. So it's interesting that they came out to the Hidden Sand Village, but if you remember right, at least if I remember right, in the earlier chapters when we saw Boruto meeting Koji for the first time, Boruto was getting chased by Hidden Sand Village ninjas, I believe. So, is it possible that Boruto and Koji are still out in the Hidden Sand Village and somehow the Senju clones got some kind of whiff of their scent there or something? Because if you look here, the area that this fight between Gaara, Shinki, and his team against Matsuri actually took place in an area that's very similar to what we've seen where Koji and Boruto talk with the pillars and stuff around. But it doesn't look like an Orochimaru hideout. It does look like a sand village area, base, something. I don't know what you would want to call it, but it does have like a similar look to it. So it's interesting to see that maybe this is where Boruto and Koji actually met in that earlier chapter, and somehow Matsuri knew to come here to check it out. I don't know. Very interesting though that that's the reason why she was here, not because of the Sand Village or anything. But anyways, we don't get to see the fight. We start off, Gaara's basically already defeated, and he's trying to get Shinki and his team out of there so that way they can be safe. Gaara's basically sacrificing himself here. So Matsuri completely managed to handle Gaara and Shinki, which is very surprising. We knew the clones, the Senju clones were strong, but it seems like not even the Hokages or the Kages are going to be able to really stand against him. But then again, there are a bunch of clawgrams around in the area, so maybe in a one-on-one fight, Gaara would have stood a better chance. But with the clawgrams being there, and with the younger shinobi being there, maybe Gaara just had too much on his plate to really, you know, put his all into the fight. But regardless, Gaara does have a big injury around his stomach. He is holding his stomach. He's bleeding out a bit, so something happened. Gaara got hit really, really hard. But Gaara's trying to save everyone. Shinki, deciding to ignore Gaara, breaks himself out of Gaara's sand using his magnetic sand, and he seals Gaara inside the magnetic sand, and a jutsu that the clawgrimes aren't able to get through. And in the process of doing the sealing jutsu, that is when the clawgrimes manage to get a bite on Shinki right here on his shoulder, and with that he becomes treed. He tells the other two to get out of there while they still can and tell Kankuro what happened. And we basically see Shinki's treed, but since he's not dead, Gaara is still sealed within the magnetic sand, and Matsuri tries to open it up, but even she's not able to. So for the time being, Gaara is safe. It's just he's sealed. And I find this really interesting that to get Gaara out of the picture, he was also sealed. So not only is the Hokage sealed, so is the Kazekage. So I'm wondering if it's going to end up turning out that all the Kages get sealed. It is kind of funny that, not funny, but I do find it interesting that both Gaara and Naruto were sealed by their adoptive sons, because if I remember right, Shinki's not Gaara's like actual biological son. He's someone that Gaara essentially adopted, the same way that Naruto has basically adopted Kawaki. So I find it very interesting that they were both sealed. Both were sealed out of respect of not wanting them to die, but Shinki's not using Gaara's sealment as a way to further his own agenda like Kawaki is. So it's just very interesting to see how similar the two situations were. Except Kawaki basically sealed Naruto ahead of time to avoid this type of danger, while Shinki sealed Gaara during the danger to prevent him from actually dying from this. So this kind of shows that, you know, if Gaara was struggling this much, I mean, Naruto could have suffered a very similar fate. So you kind of see the reasoning why Kawaki's sealment kind of makes sense. Granted, Kawaki didn't seal Naruto because he knew that the Senju clones or whatever were going to be here, but it's a very interesting dynamic in my opinion. Maybe I'm looking too much into it, but I don't know. I find it very interesting that they were both sealed by their adoptive sons. But anyways, Matsuri is impressed by Shinki and his technique being able to seal Gaara to keep him alive, but she does say that because of this, he might make an interesting teammate, alluding to Ryu, of course. We then cut back to the Leaf Village. Kankuro is telling basically Shikamaru everything that happened and all the intel he has. And then, if you remember right, Sarada and Sumari ended up coming into the Hokage's office at the end of the last chapter, and Shikamaru basically tells them, hey, we're gonna help Kankuro, but hey, if Boruto contacts either one of you, let me know. I need to know more intel from him. Sarada and Sumari proceed to leave the office after Shikamaru tells them that, and then as we see at Shikamaru's feet, we see a Koji toad. As you can see right here in the bottom left corner, we got the Koji toad here. We got Filbert. So Koji knows all this. Koji knows what happened in the sand now. So maybe he's just confirming something from one of his visions. But regardless, he knows the information. I don't remember if Shikamaru knows that the frog is still there. So maybe Shikamaru basically said the Boruto line to Sarada and Sumari to basically hide himself from, in case Ada or like the sensory village, the sensory team was listening. It's basically Shikamaru telling them that, but in reality, Shikamaru was wanting to tell the toad that. I don't know, I think I'm looking too much into that one. But anyways, we move on. We cut to the Senju when Ryu was being born. I also like that they put a little note here that Ryu can mean grain of sand, which gives a little bit more meaning to his name. I like that. I honestly thought they just named him Ryu because Ryu from Street Fighter, who I got to Masters. I just really wanted to say that. Anyways, we cut back to the Senju clones, and we actually get something I did not expect at all in this chapter, and that is the moment Ryu's born, he picks up on something and he decides to investigate on it. So as you see here, he uses his magnetic sand here. So now we know that for sure that Ryu can access the magnetic sand. And he looks down and he notices that an eye is poking out of the cube that he came out of. And he uses the magnetic sand to grab the eye, and out he drags out Code, who was paying attention, or who was basically infiltrating the Shinju meeting to see what they were talking about. I did not expect to see Code in this chapter. I did not expect to see him in this way, and the fact that Ryu was able to pick up on the fact that Code was listening and drag him out of his belt spot is very, very interesting, and honestly kind of scary for Code, because it just shows that Code's greatest technique, the belts, is no longer really his. You know, the Shinju are able to use them. We've seen them use it. We've seen the Claw Grimes use it, and so Code is basically sharing his weapon with these clones, because basically anywhere Code puts down a belt, the Shinju should be able to come out of it as well. And not only can Code listen in on them, they can listen in on Code if he throws down a belt. So it's very scary to see that Code's main technique, the main thing that makes him scary, is kind of useless against these clones. But anyways, Ryu basically says, "Who is this?" He's lurking around. Jura tells him that it's Code, and Jura actually takes pity. Well, no, I'll say it. He takes pity on Code, and he tells Ryu to let him down. That the only reason that they're even alive is because of Code, so they owe their existence to him. So Code gets released, and he basically asks them, "What are y'all doing? Aren't you supposed to be trying to devour the Otsutsuki?" Jura says, "Yes, we are going to eventually, but we have a bunch of other stuff to take concern about, or we have a bunch of other stuff taking priority." And basically says, Jura just tells them, or Jura tells him, "Code, you're angry against Boruto, right? So you kill Boruto, feel free, we're gonna eat Kawaki." So it should be flipped around, but because of the omnipotence, it's Boruto instead that Code has a problem with. And Code basically says, "Hey, don't be smart with me, y'all are monsters, I'm the one in charge here." He doesn't exactly say I'm the one in charge here, but he does kind of basically say he's above the clones. And Code brings up the fact that he's going to be the one to devour the chakra fruit once it gets developed from the Otsutsuki being eaten. And Jura decides to wonder what would happen if the Shinju clones themselves were to eat the chakra fruit, which is a very scary scenario, and it's probably the scenario that Boruto and Koji are trying to avoid. And when Jura says this, it picks up the attention of all of his teammates, Matsuri, Bug, Hidari. They all look around like, you know, that is interesting to think about. And then Code basically says, "Hey, don't think about defying me." Code tries to attack Jura, and it didn't go well for our boy Code. And like I said earlier, Code's greatest technique, the belt, is basically just useless to him, because here he tries to use the belt to attack Jura straight from his chest, and Jura, knowing this, doesn't even flinch and then proceeds to use his eye beam, or his eye energy shot, the same one that he used to take down Boruto and Sarada. He shoots off Code's arm. Code's claw arm has been completely shot off, and Code is now not only down an eye, he is also down an arm, or a hand. So things aren't looking good for our boy Code. Right now, he's pretty much looking very pitiful. We've seen him get basically one-shotted by Boruto at the beginning of the series, and now the Shinju clones themselves are basically shown that they can defeat Code extremely easy. So things just aren't looking good for our boy. It's definitely, even with his limiters removed, Code still has not done anything. Code does think quickly, and instead of like bleeding out or anything, he uses belts to cover up his wound and stop the bleeding. They continue to mock him. Code continues to get more upset. Code Code basically just goes on like a not a rampage, but like a tantrum here, saying that he'll be the one to eat the chakra fruit, he'll kill Boruto and everything, and to basically say, he basically tells them, laugh while you still can, because at the end, I'll be the last one laughing. So it seems like Code has finally realized that, yeah, these Senjus are not under his command, he's not the one in charge here, he truly is basically on the outside looking in here. And this definitely does set up something that a lot of people have been talking about, and that is Code actually teaming up with either Boruto or Kawaki or both in order to help take down the Senju. And if you remember right, Boruto did kind of want to team up with Code at the beginning of the series when the Senju first arrived, and Code wasn't having any of it, and I think now that he's lost an arm or a hand to them, I think now we might see Code actually come around and think, you know what, I do need to work with someone here out of desperation. But I don't know. For all we know, Code might be taking more L's to the point where he just gets killed off. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how Code develops. I definitely do think we're gonna see a moment from Code where it's like, okay, this is what we've been waiting for. This is like the whole idea about Code without his limiters. This is what he can really do. But I think it's going to be a while. I think we are definitely going to see a couple more of L's being handed to Code. But it's very interesting to see what they're going to do with Code. I'll say that. Like, Code in the first pre-time skip, he wasn't a boring character, but his motivation did just kind of become flat. Kind of like flatlined. But now in Two Blue Vortex, it's very interesting to see what they're going to do with him, considering how much of a threat he was talked up to be. And now we've seen nothing but him taking losses, so it's going to be interesting to see. Ryu proceeds to talk about how he didn't like Code, about how he's a nasty creep. So now not only do we have Boruto calling Code a creep in this series, we now have Ryu calling Code a creep. So I think it's confirmed that Code in general is just a creep. Which, I mean, I don't think we really needed that confirmed, because I think we all thought that, but it's good to know. Anyways, this basically all leads up to Ryu saying that his target is going to be the 5th Kazekage, Gaara of the Sand, because Ryu is the only one who can unseal him, due to the fact that Ryu is the one in charge of the magnetic sand right now. So now we know that Gaara isn't safe like Naruto is, because Naruto is in that other dimension that, as far as we know, still Kawaki is the only one who can access it, but Gaara, who's sealed in the magnetic sands, while he's safe from everyone else, he's not safe from Ryu. So it seemed maybe they're going to go straight for Gaara immediately, because they do have a way of getting to him. I mean, they already failed going to the Leaf trying to get Kurama from Naruto. So maybe they're like, well, let's go to the sand and go ahead and get Gaara, because we know we can. We have a way of doing it. But that's where we stop with the Senju, and then we get to a very interesting part of the chapter. One that I did not expect to happen this soon, but I am more than happy to see it. We get this shot, this really cool shot of Boruto standing on Naruto's Hokage head, and Kawaki shows up as well. So it's time for these two to get a chance to really talk with each other. Boruto basically asks Kawaki if he's alone. Kawaki says yes, though Ada's probably watching. And it's interesting that Boruto asked that for a different reason. At first, I didn't think anything about it, but I think later on, I'll discuss why I think Boruto asked that question specifically. And Boruto basically tells Kawaki, alright, what's up with you? Why didn't you attack me immediately, knowing you? And Kawaki says, well, first, I want to know why he didn't tell Konoha the truth. Because if you remember in the interrogation, Boruto didn't reveal anything about what Kawaki did, even though that would have been his perfect opportunity to do it. And Boruto basically says, if I have told people, some would believe me, some wouldn't, and all it would do would just create division and confusion, and that's not good for the Leaf. Right now, the Leaf is working normally, so if the Leaf can stay normal by having me be the enemy, then that's fine. I can handle it. I've gained the strength to handle it thanks to Sasuke. Very mature answer. Very mature answer from Boruto. It's amazing to see this side of him, to see just how much he's like willing to take the brunt of everything in order to keep things normal, because everything that's happened, Boruto, there's a very good chance, because thanks to Koji, that Boruto knows he's never going to be able to release omnipotence or be able to change things back. There is a part of me that thinks Boruto already knows that. And that's one reason why he just constantly is okay with what's going on. With how Shikamaru has told him, like, hey, you're going to continue to be a rogue ninja wanted by the Leaf. Boruto said that's fine. Kawaki asked him about him. He says it's fine. Boruto seems to have come to be okay with it. And I feel like part of the reason why is because Koji looked, and no matter what, Boruto is never able to get his old life back. And so it's something that Boruto has just come to deal with. And that's honestly very sad if that is the case. That it's not because Boruto, he's saying all this, but in reality, is it possible that he's lying? It's not that he's able to handle all this because of his unwavering strength or determination to keep going and keep things normal like this. It's because he knows it's futile to try to fight it because he knows he fails. That is such a sad way to think about it, and I'm really wondering if that is the case, because there have already been some other moments in the previous chapters where Boruto kind of seems to know he's gonna die. Because if you remember, in the very first chapter, the very second chapter, Boruto says dying in the Hidden Leaf Village, that wouldn't be so bad. And there's another moment where Boruto says something about him dying, or not being able to die right now. I think it was in the chapters against Mitsuki. I would have to go back and look. But it does seem like Boruto knows he's gonna die, so is it possible Boruto's doing all this and he's okay with all this stuff because, one, he knows he can't stop omnipotence or change things back to the way they're supposed to be, and two, he knows he has to die eventually to save everyone, so it's just like, what's the point of trying to fight it? It's very sad to think, how much knowledge of the future does Boruto truly have? And how much does he know of how futile it is to try to change it and try to change some other things? You know, it's a very interesting dynamic they've made with Koji now, and I really like it, so I'm really excited to see where that keeps going. Anyways, we continue on in the chapter. We have Kawaki basically asking Boruto, alright, what about Momoshiki? From what I saw earlier, you can't control your karma, so what's that about? And Boruto reveals the last time he used his karma, now is when Sasuke and Boruto fought Code 2 years ago. So we didn't actually see Boruto use his karma in that flashback. I don't know, judging by how that flashback went, we know it's Sasuke basically charging Code and his claw grinds and Boruto running away. But we know that Code has already lost an eye at that point. I can't remember if Code confirmed if he lost his eye because of Sasuke or because of Boruto. So is it possible that Boruto used his karma, he started losing control, but during the time he was using his karma, he managed to cut Code's eye, but because he was starting to lose control, he had to stop, and that's when Sasuke had to go ahead and tell him to run while he handled the rest. I can't remember exactly if Code confirmed whether or not Sasuke was the one that took his eye. I would have to go back and look for that, but that is the last time that Boruto used his karma, and he says the reason why he hasn't used it since then is when he used his karma, he got the same feeling he does whenever Momoshiki possesses him. And he describes the feeling as him starting to feel like he's dying while he's still conscious and aware. And so because of that, he has not used his karma once since then. And apparently Momoshiki has not said a word to Boruto, or hasn't taunted him, hasn't done anything to him since then. But Boruto believes that just using the karma by itself, not even being tired, because as we know before, it would be if Boruto was low on chakra while using the karma, that would give Momoshiki the chance to come out and possess him. Now it seems like even just activating the karma allows Momoshiki to take control. So this causes Kawaki to get upset, saying that not only is the situation still the same, it's actually gotten worse because now you can't even use your power. Boruto decides to stay silent on this. And Boruto also changes the topic to the Shinju clones. And Kawaki says, hey, don't change the topic, we're not done discussing Momoshiki yet. And Boruto says, look, I just want to say, we have to take out those Shinju clones first. After they're gone, if I lose it and go crazy with Momoshiki, you can kill me. But Boruto also says that Jura is someone that he can't take down by himself. He needs Kawaki's help to take down Jura. So now we know that right now, Jura is essentially top 1 in the universe. Boruto can't defeat him by himself. And he's basically asking for Kawaki's help here. But here's the thing. Boruto basically says, Kawaki, you're too weak right now. You need to get a lot stronger in order to be able to help me. Boruto says, look, you're my dad's student. The right thing to do would be for you to free him and have him train you. But that's not going to happen because, first of all, you wouldn't free him. And second of all, it's going to take too long. So Boruto basically tells Kawaki, I'm going to tell you something that you're going to realize on your own sooner or later. But if I tell you now, it'll be for the better. So basically, Boruto is pulling a Koji on Kawaki because Koji trained Boruto by teaching him all the stuff he was going to learn in the future, but teaching him now. Now Boruto is returning or forwarding that favor to Kawaki by using knowledge from Koji of Kawaki's future and telling him now in order to power him up. And it's actually something very interesting. Boruto tells Kawaki, you need to talk to Amato because he's hiding your power. He put a limiter on your offensive abilities, but made sure that your defensive and regenerative abilities are above maximum levels. And this is one of the craziest parts of this chapter. If you look down here in the bottom left, Kawaki is shocked, and then we get a close-up of his eye with the little sound effect of like vzz, like vzz. Maybe like a camera, like, you know, like the lens changing, like, you know, whenever they have like a camera zoom in or something, you always hear like a zzz in like TV shows and something. I'm assuming that's like what the sound effect's supposed to be. But we see that Amato is actually looking through Kawaki's eyes. This is what I meant earlier by, I think I know why Boruto asked Kawaki if he's alone. I think Boruto knows that Koji is looking through Kawaki's eyes in order to see what Kawaki sees. And because of this, Boruto wanted to confirm to himself whether or not Kawaki has realized this or not. So that's why he asked him, are you alone? And when Kawaki answered yes, but Ada might be watching, that gave Boruto the confirmation he needed to know that Kawaki has not realized what Amato is doing to him yet. I think that's one reason why he asked him, to see whether or not Kawaki had known about this. But yeah, Amato can look through Kawaki's eyes. I can't remember if this has been confirmed before, or if we've seen this happen before. This is the first time I remember this happening, or seeing confirmation of this. I know we've seen Amato look through Koji's eyes, or Koji's toads, and look through Delta, I believe. We've seen him look through Delta's eyes, but I don't think we've ever seen him look through Kawaki's eyes, or known that he could do this to Kawaki. I think it would have been something we would just have to infer until now. And Amato is a little upset about this, basically saying, how did Boruto know about this? And we cut back to when Amato found one of Koji's toads, and he finds it hard to believe that Koji could possibly be alive. And he's basically saying, okay, so how did Boruto know about me and what I did to Kawaki? And if that toad minion the other day that I found is actually Koji's, first of all, how is Koji alive and what's his motive at this point? So Amato is now starting to ask questions, and let me just say, Amato right now is not looking very good. He's definitely looking like a villain. I think there's still credits being led to Amato being one of the main villains of the series. Because anytime it seems like Amato's done being suspicious, something like this happens and he's automatically, alright, what's this dude planning? Like, Amato is always suspicious, but then it dies down a little bit, and then something like this happens, and it's like, okay, yeah, this is a good reminder that Amato's not innocent. There's something he's hiding. I think it could turn out that Amato is secretly, or not secretly, but Amato could end up being one of the main villains, if not the main villain of the entire story. But basically, Boruto tells Kawaki that Amato needs your karma because you remember right, Amato told us that Kawaki's karma is basically a way to revive his daughter, or he's hoping to use it to revive his daughter. Whether or not he's actually telling the truth about that, we still don't know, but that's what we've been told so far. And he basically tuned Kawaki to make sure if Code attacked him that he would still be able to live. And as Boruto gets ready to leave, he basically just tells Kawaki, look, if you think I'm lying, go talk to Amato, I'm leaving now. And Kawaki says, look Boruto, I'm not changing my opinion on you and us. Otsutsuki are evil and they need to be exterminated. But those Shinju clones, it's the Otsutsuki's fault for bringing the Ten Tails to this planet. So every single one of them has to be eliminated, including you and me. And Boruto and Kawaki have a little stare-off here when he says that, but then Kawaki continues with, but first, we start with the Shinju clones. By any means necessary, even if it means partnering with you. And Boruto cracks a little teasing smile and he says, alright then, well you better not slow me down, bro. And Kawaki says, right back at ya, you jerk. So we get a nice little sweet moment between these two, of them being friendly with each other, and this is basically confirmation right here that these two are going to team up to take down the Shinju clones first, and then after that's over, we're going to figure out what to do about this whole Otsutsuki situation. And this is the final page of the chapter. I love this page right here, or these two pages right here with the little stare off between the two. You get this nice little pose from Boruto with the wind blowing his cape open, the sword. He just looks fucking dope. And Kawaki still looks like a bum. Anyways, really good ending to the chapter. I really like the fact that we got this kind of closing chapter for what I consider the first arc of the series. I think next chapter is probably going to be what I was expecting this chapter to be, and that is them going to the Sand Village. Or getting prepared to go to the Sand Village now. I think we're going to jump straight into it. Overall, very interesting chapter. There's a lot of interesting stuff in here. I'm going to definitely dissect it more as the month goes. If you guys want to see more of my thoughts on the chapter, make sure to follow me on Blue Sky and on Twitter. I'll probably tweet on Blue Sky more, but I'll try to make sure I also tweet over on Twitter. But I think Blue Sky right now is a little bit better, but yeah. Go ahead and follow me on both of those platforms if you want to keep up more of my thoughts on Boruto. They'll be linked down in the description below. In terms of wildcard predictions that I do every chapter, I honestly don't think I'm going to do one for this one because considering it's the end of the arc, I think it's a good point. It's going to be kind of hard to really make any wildcard predictions for next chapter, so I'm going to go ahead and not make any predictions here. Instead, I'll just give a little review about what I thought about this first arc, and I gotta say, this first arc is exactly what Boruto 2 Blue Vortex needed to start with. In my opinion, there is not a single bad chapter in these first 15. It started off with a huge bang with the first 4, and yeah, there's a little like down moments, but not down as in like bad, but like kind of like slow down moments. They did a good job of setting the story, I feel like. There's definitely some issues I had with the first 15 chapters, one being Boruto just being in the Hidden Leaf Village way too much for supposedly being on the run. But the way they've been kind of explaining it kind of helps a little bit with how people are already coming around to the fact that Boruto's not a bad guy. But it definitely would have been nice to see more of Boruto not being in the Hidden Leaf Village, but because that's been an issue I think with the entire series as a whole, is too much of it just takes place in the Hidden Leaf only. But it seems like we're going in a direction where we're actually going to go out into the world and re-explore the ninja world again that was established in Naruto Shippuden, because they got to go to the Sand Village or the Land of Wind. They have to. That's where Gara is. That's where the next fight is seemingly going to take place. I don't know. The next confrontation, but no, overall, this first arc was exactly what the series needed to get started. It's a really good way to start off a time skip and a rebrand from going from Boruto Naruto Next Generation to Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. I think they've basically nailed it out of the park, hit it out of the park, however you want to say it, every aspect that they needed to, and I'm really hoping that the rest of the manga continues to keep this quality, because if it does, it's just going to keep gaining popularity. I've already seen the opinions of the manga kind of turn around, and a lot of people are liking the way that Naruto Next Generation ended with the whole omnipotence plot twist. And I've seen nothing but people talk good things about the beginning of Two Blue Vortex. So I'm really hoping that if the manga keeps going at this pace, that the opinions about Boruto can slowly start to turn around even more. But overall, I'm extremely happy with how the manga's going. I'm super excited to see the next chapter. Let me know down below what you guys thought about the arc itself as well. If you had, what were your issues with it, what you liked about it, and what you're thinking might happen for the next arc. But other than that, as always, thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. God bless, happy gaming, or happy reading in this situation. Have a good rest of your day / night, and I will see you all next time. Peace out.